I probably picked up a golf club for the first time when I was 7 or 8 years old, and I basically had one in my hand ever since. When you go out to play, you're always playing against the golf course, and usually the golf course always wins.
The moments that define our lives aren't always obvious. They don't always scream, shout, or stamp their feet.
Oh, you hit it way behind that, so that's it. One of the secrets, Caden, is don't try to kill it. Just swing.
More often than not, a defining moment will tiptoe or walk softly into those special corners of our lives, like wandering off a well-worn path in the forest or taking a leisurely stroll down a well-groomed fairway. Moments mark the beginning or end of something, owning little pieces of our hearts and personal history. With time and distance, you can always look back and track those specific moments that determined your direction. In nearly every instance, they trace back to that singular, momentary space when time stood still and demanded a decision. Memories fade with the passage of time, but they are clear as the day is long when Jimmy reflects on what happened at his parents' home in Scotland. Christmas Day, 1956. A letter arrives in the post from Canada. Prior to being handed that envelope, the boy from St. Andrews had no way of knowing how the otherwise ordinary act of opening the mail would determine his life direction and shape an extraordinary legacy. Back in the late 50s, everybody in the county of Fife knew Jimmy's face from articles that kept appearing in the newspapers. By the age of 17, the young champion had collected boxes full of trophies and a scrapbook of press clippings, confirming his status as one of Scotland's most promising and talented golfers. Opening that fateful letter over the holidays, his eyes grew wide as he read the offer to turn professional on the other side of the world. By April of 57, Jimmy was on a propeller plane, heading across the Atlantic to make a full-time living at the game he had loved since the age of 7. Arriving alone in a new country, there was still snow on the ground at Lambton Golf Course in Toronto, where he began his career as an assistant club pro.
They had 380 members, and it's not like today where you pick up the phone and call the pro shop and get a tee-off time. Back in that day, the foursome or whatever they were would show up. We had to write their name down and what time of day they teed off number 1 in case a phone message came in for them, and we would have to go find them on the golf course. So I learned how to remember 380 names, and now I'm old enough I can't remember my own.
In his quiet, understated way, Jimmy started to rack up tournament victories, first as a professional and later as a top amateur after relocating to New Brunswick and raising a family. Despite an impressive string of wins through the 1960s, there was no real money to speak of in the pro game back then. Jimmy had to supplement his golf earnings with part-time jobs that ranged from selling menswear to tending bar, sacrifices to make sure a wife and 3 kids were looked after, doing what any good father would do to take care of his family. Severely overworked, vastly underpaid, and underappreciated. For more than a decade, Jimmy turned his back on the game. Hunger for birdies replaced by a thirst for booze. The bottom of a bottle became his one-way ticket to rock bottom. A rocky marriage and home life. A daily dance with demons of regret and lost opportunity. Not liking what he faced each morning in the bathroom mirror. And when the pain finally became too great to live with, another defining moment arrived. Without knowing the outcome, Jimmy grabbed his clubs, reached back to the one thing he knew for sure.
And this putter is from 1961, Campbell of Canada. The shaft is from Shakespeare Fishing Rods. It's a fiberglass shaft, and it's still working, isn't it?
After 15 summers away from competitive golf, His comeback included consecutive New Brunswick senior men's titles and multiple berths on provincial Willingdon Cup teams, all while staying sober and overcoming triple bypass surgery along the way. By the time his competitive career ended, he had racked up over 100 professional and amateur wins, multiple course records, enshrinement in a number of sports halls of fame. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, another defining moment appeared. A faraway phone call from his only son, wondering if he would like to get together for a match in August of 2019 with Jimmy's grandson and great-grandson. The four-generational foursome was formed that day with no expectations, no inkling that they were about to create something magical. Nearing his 80th birthday that August afternoon, it was in that moment Jimmy realized that what he had done with the game had truly mattered, in a way that could never be counted with prize money, tournament wins, headlines, or trophies. His journey to Canada, alone at the age of 17, had created something much more permanent and enduring.
Go put a couple on the grass and hit it. Sure, there's no such word as can't. That's better. Now hit one more and then meet us at the car. He's a good boy.
The boy from St. Andrews, Scotland, my dad. Maybe he never got a chance to compete on the PGA Tour, but maybe he's accomplished something that no one else has in the history of sports. Now, to put this in proper historical context, every year, about 800 climbers summit the top of Mount Everest. Only 12 men have ever walked on the face of the moon. So in terms of athletic longevity, Dad may well rank with some of the greats like Cal Ripken Jr., who played 2,632 consecutive games, Glenn Hall, the great hockey goaltender, who started 502 consecutive games in the NHL. To the best of our knowledge and research, including the World Golf Hall of Fame in St. Augustine, Florida, it seems no other former pro golfer has competed in a legitimate competition in a four-generational foursome, let alone do it 3 years in a row.
Paired with his great-grandson, Caden, Jimmy is now on a mission to rack up team titles on what has become known as the MGA Tour. His swing may be a little shorter, his hands and knuckles are aching and weathered with arthritis, but his rhythm, touch, and sheer athleticism is still intact. And when the 2021 event came down to a final struggle that could have gone either way on 18, a misty-eyed Jimmy held his breath and wiped away a tear. Another moment stopped him in his tracks and grabbed him by the heart. Scotland the Brave never sounded so gallant and beautiful as it drifted across the shadows of gentle, rolling fairways that late August afternoon. Maintaining composure while being flooded by a lifetime of memories, Jimmy stayed in the moment, focused on doing what needed to be done. An adoring gallery watched him stick a 9-iron 12 feet from the flag before coming through in the clutch. A make-or-break pressure putt to give he and Caden a one-stroke victory, a third consecutive title. Jim Maxwell would be the first to tell you that no one gets an easy pass in life. We all meet struggles while pursuing our dreams. Sometimes our knees shake in the face of adversity. Sometimes our feet get knocked out from under us. Sometimes so much wind gets taken from our sails that we surrender and lose hope. But hang in there long enough, and you never know when a not-so-obvious opportunity will knock softly on your door. The ever-so-brief and somewhat obscure moment when storm clouds part and a faint glimmer of sunshine comes through to explain why you were placed here to begin with, why you matter, and how your daily decisions ripple through the universe in a way that affects generations. That's why success or failure in golf or life is never measured by the number of shots missed or roads not taken. It's about being willing to tee it up and give it another whack, to give it another shot and another, knowing perfection is a path never attained, only pursued. The next shot is always the most important one, the only one of any meaning and magnitude. It's about living in the moment and never looking back.
Bigger than last year. What do you think?
Say that again?
I think it's going to be way bigger than last
Oh,
year.
I think so.
Yeah, it's going
my,
to be a bigger event.
my partner's a lot smarter this year.
I'm excited.
Game over in Detroit.